Welcome back to Hey Kentucky. We are now happy to be joined by my good friend from the SEC Network and ESPN, Paul Finebaum. Paul, how are you doing?
Matt, I'm doing great. It's a great pleasure to be on your program. This is I've now completed everything on my bucket list.
That's what I assume. All these years you've interviewed me. Now the tables have turned. So I'll start and ask you a little bit about football. Are you surprised at the fact that the Cats are 4-0 going into Week 5?
Yeah, you have to say yes. Otherwise, you're just being a total fraud because conventional wisdom said they would lose to Florida, and frankly, I thought they'd lose to Mississippi State. So I'm pleasantly surprised. I'm really happy to see it because last night on our program, Matt, or Monday night, we have a board of 6 or 7 lines, as you know, and I think every one of them was filled with Kentucky fans. That's never happened in football. I think you know the drill.
Well, I mean, that's what's interesting. You know this from doing your show. Kentucky fans are a very passionate lot, sort of like Alabama football fans. I think they've just been waiting for a moment like this, don't you?
Yeah, and we've been up there together in Lexington, and I've seen Kentucky. I've been in that stadium many years ago when we're talking about a double-digit Kentucky team. I realized I was in college at the time. It's been that long. There's a hunger for great success in football up there, and I'm really pleased because I don't think this was an easy thing to happen. I think it took a lot of patience. I think it took a lot of hard work. I know this sounds like cliches you get, but it also took the president, Capilouto, and Mitch Barnhart to believe. And a lot of places would not have done that. They would have just dumped Mark Stoops midway through and said, we got the wrong guy. But by standing firm and by showing resistance to the movement to get rid of him, it's worked out quite magnificently.
I don't know how much of this you know, but you guys pick the games on the SEC Nation and then your cohorts on College Game Day. And in the Florida-Mississippi State game, everybody picked the other team. And Kentucky players, they print that out and take it to the locker room with them. When you hear that and you realize that your words can be used as motivation for the other team, what does that make you think?
Yeah, it makes you think a little bit. By the way, I'm going to tell you a true story because I believe you and I tell the truth here, unlike some people in this business. So a week ago Monday, I'm on a radio station in Birmingham, and they asked me about Kentucky and Mississippi State, and I said, right now I'm leaning toward going with Kentucky. I really liked what I had seen. So I got in that day, and some blog picked it up, Matt, and John Hayes, our mutual friend, said, man, some state people are really upset with you. I said, well, that's what I feel. So I started thinking, we're going to Mississippi State this week, and if I pick Kentucky, so I did change my pick. I'm not saying I didn't believe, because by the end I kind of waved it off. But I never put a lot of stock in those predictions. Now,
I know the answer to this because I know you, but a lot of folks who are watching this, when the SEC Network came, you just all of a sudden dropped into their lives. And maybe people don't know your background. You were a newspaper guy. How did you end up being Mr. SEC Paul Finebaum? What was that journey?
It was a long one because I was not only a newspaper guy, that's really what I loved. I never thought about doing anything else, Matt. I was a hardcore, started out as an investigative reporter and became a columnist, and ultimately moved into radio, which got a little bit bigger as radio ballooned, and ultimately got on satellite radio, which led to a little bit more attention. And when the SEC Network launched and somebody asked me to be the face of it, I thought they were kidding. First of all, you're looking at my face right now. And I almost didn't do it because I had a really nice gig going in Birmingham, which you were aware of, and I thought, why risk it for something I did not think would be successful? Not so much the network, but I wasn't sure what we did would work on a bigger scale. We were a show that talked about Alabama and Auburn, it's like talking about Kentucky basketball. You don't really have to expand the base; it's large enough. So it was a challenge, and 5 years later, it's still going, and for that, I'm extremely fortunate.
I've sort of based a lot of what I've done on my career from watching you, and I've gotten to host your show over the years. And I had somebody say, If Paul Finebaum was giving a young Matt Jones advice, and I'm still sort of young, what would you do so that one of these days some goober in another state can interview me in a situation like this?
I would say keep doing the same thing because Matt, I think, and I say this not only as a friend but as a fan, but as someone who has watched you. You have mastered what you do. There are very few people who can do it. Some were on their way, and then they lost their way. They lost the track. They got too political. They got too hateful. You are the ultimate talk show host for a fan base, and you could broaden this, and you have, I know, with some of your work at ESPN. But I wouldn't change it at all because there are few shows in America where fans really get a voice and get their positions heard. Too many talk show hosts, including a number that I work with, only want to hear their own voice. They don't care about the fans. And to me, it is the fan who matters most in our business.
Well, I have to say this. A lot of people don't know this about you. You're not only great at what you do, but you're very gracious. You've always been wonderful to me, including coming on this week of our Season 3 premiere. We very much appreciate it. Pick for me, and I thank you, but before you go, pick for me, what's Kentucky's final record going to be? We're starting to think 8, 9, 10. What do you think Kentucky ends up at with wins?
I think Kentucky can go 10-2. I really don't see that many difficult games left on the schedule, Matt. I think Georgia is the wild card. Maybe the trip to A&M, but beyond that, and maybe I'm missing something. I think they can. And by the way, I think Benny Snell is a legitimate Heisman candidate too. Today, I would vote for Benny Snell first on my ballot. That is today, but that's what I would do. I think he is that good. I think he is that impactful.
Even over Tua.
Even over Tua.
Wow. Well.
Benny Snell is my guy.
You know, I can't wait for the headlines. Paul Finebaum, thank you very much. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Matt. Always a pleasure.